Yes, Hotline Miami 1, the classic game about a nameless, voiceless guy in a chicken mask killing good old Russians in Miami in the 80s. Simple and straightforward, just how I like it. What's Hotline Miami 2 about?
I just want to go home.
Ash! What are you waiting for?
You know what happens to thugs like you?
Don't shoot! I'm a detective. Here's my badge.
Gotta get the grip.
Jesus Christ, where do I even start? In this video, I'm going to attempt to take the schizo rambles of a crazy man and turn it into a cohesive story flow for a theoretical movie. This video is a continuation of a video I made previously, so I would highly recommend watching that video first and then coming back to this one. With that being said, let's get into how I would translate Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number into a film story-wise. I would break it down into 3 parts, each one told in different characters' perspectives. There are parts of the game I'm not going to be mentioning because either they're not that important to the story, or I've already talked about them in my first video about the first game, which you should watch. Starting with part 1, the detective and the author. At the beginning of the game, we see that Hollywood is making a movie about the events of the first game, titled The Midnight Animal, which is such a banger name, but what is not a banger is the movie itself because it's total bullshit. The movie portrays the protagonist of the first game, Jacket, as a monster, a cold-blooded killer, and a rapist. This does not sit well with our first protagonist of the second game, Evan Wright, an author who is writing a book about the real and factual events of the first game. Evan Wright is a veteran journalist turned writer, so he has a bit of personal connection to Beard and Jacket. He generally uses his friend, Detective Manny Pardo, a character we'll talk about in a bit, to get leads. Evan holds this book very closely to his heart and has 3 scenes in the game all feature him willingly traversing areas he understands are dangerous in search of information to include in the book. Evan attends Jacket's court date to listen in and attempt to gain more facts. The court is conflicted because while they don't see why Jacket would be lying about what happened, they can't find any proof of 50 Blessings' existence. Evan calls up his detective friend Manny Pardo and asks him if he has anyone he can interview. Manny gives Evan the location of a Russian working for the police who was around during the events of the first game. The Russian tells Evan that Jacket and the rest of 50 Blessings were extremely experienced, knew exactly what they were doing. Evan meets up with Manny and tells him what he discovered. Manny tells him that he should be writing about the Miami Mutilator, a new serial killer seemingly inspired by the work of 50 Blessings. Keyword seemingly. Pardo is consistently portrayed as exhausted and cynical. He speaks a lot like Richard. According to Evan, Pardo has a reputation of incompetence and misconduct at the MPD. Pardo secretly desires fame and to be seen as an action star. However, his extreme desire for fame has led him to commit many reprehensible misconducts. Even his dialogue consists largely of things people would say in action movies.
This guy must be some kind of psycho, huh? Ugh, creeps me out. Guess it'll make the press happy, though. Goddamn vultures.
Which brings us to the Miami PD case of the Miami Mutilator, which totally sounds like a villain that Dexter Morgan would go up against. We see the Manny investigate crime scenes of the Miami Mutilator, and it is extremely implied that 1, he is either the Miami Mutilator, or the Miami Mutilator is sort of a fake / for hire that he is responsible for and wants to take down so that a movie just like The Midnight Animal will be made all about him. It's not confirmed if he actually is the killer or not, but we know for a fact he's heavily involved and somewhat responsible for the killings. Okay, so now here's where I have to start altering the order in which events take place in the game for the sake of this theoretical movie. If you know the game, a lot of shit is shown, the fans, flashbacks with Beard, Pardo doing some not so nice things, but I want to skip all the way to Pardo's last scene where he has this really intense nightmare where we see his police captain thinks he's the Miami Mutilator, tells Pardo to surrender. Pardo freaks out and basically gives him the "you'll never take me alive," where he proceeds to absolutely annihilate the police department before running outside and getting gunned down. After this point, Pardo wakes up and gets a call telling him to come into work, tells a person on the phone that he's really not feeling well and is going to stay home today. For this hypothetical movie, I would have Evan be the one who called Pardo, telling him that there's some new vigilantes in town, and that he's interviewing people at the crime scene. Pardo would say the same thing, he's not feeling well, and he doesn't really give a shit right now. Then we would transition back to Evan at the crime scene. We could see him interviewing people, maybe some police officers or some random witnesses, and I think I would have them say something like, "The press is calling them the the Fans. They're a group of sick fucks that were inspired by mass murderers from a few years ago. Cut me some slack, I'm not a screenwriter or a voice actor. At this point, we could see some sort of montage of Evan doing some investigative work, where we could also get a cameo of Evan interviewing Richter from the first game over the phone, and then another cameo Biker from the first game being interviewed by Evan in a bar. As the montage continues, we start to see that more that he goes down the rabbit hole of what happened, the more he works on his book, the more his family starts to resent him. In the game, Evan is given a choice to either finish the book or scrap the book, and depending on what you do will slightly change his ending in the game. I think for the sake of the movie and us wanting to root for Evan, I think we should have him ditch the book and give him a better ending for his character. I think at this point now you have what happens with Pardo, but with Evan this time. I would have Pardo call Evan and be like, dude, there's a new lead, come to this crime scene if you want more to include in your book. And then I would have Evan be like, nah man, I'm done writing the book, it's not worth it. And then Pardo would be like, shh, whatever man, you're a loss. And then we transition to his perspective where he's about to raid a building, supposedly with the Fans inside. We follow Pardo as he finds 3 of the members of the Fans hidden in a room, 2 of them dead on the ground and the last one trying to surrender. I think you could have Pardo say his little, well, what do we have here line as the camera zooms in on the members of the Fans. And then we could see our second title card, I guess technically third if you count the name of the movie, but this one would say Part 2, The Fans. And then the movie would do a little reverse time VHS effect like in the games, and we could see the story of the Fans. The Fans are a group of veterans who try to recreate the conditions of the original Hotline Miami game 2 years ago after the fact in an attempt to gain the attention of 50 Blessings. The group consists of Corey, who wears the zebra mask, Tony, who wears the tiger mask, Alex and Ash, who wear the swan mask, and Mark, who wears the bear mask. I think besides Jacket's mask, Tony's Revenge is my favorite mask in all of Hotline Miami. The Fans do a couple missions in the game where they just kill some low-life drug dealers and gangs, and at one point they end up killing this poor Russian henchman that was trying to retire and go home to his girlfriend, but the Fans kill him before he's given the chance. They take the henchman's phone and go back to base, where then they are left a voicemail by the now leader of the Russian mob, which is a character we'll be talking about soon, and the voice on the phone asks if the henchman is going to change his mind about retiring and asks him to come to their new base to see their new drug that they're developing. The Fans decided that they're going to go fuck up whoever that is, but before they leave, Mark hands out new masks, which all turn into Jacket's mask, and that's when we see good old Richard from the first game, who is essentially the fucking Grim Reaper of this game. He appears and talks to anyone who is about to die, and basically gives them a warning in the form of a cryptic threat.
You really enjoy hurting other people, don't you?
It's just a film.
Just a film, huh? That's one way to look at it.
Richard mimics the Fans talking to each other through their walkie-talkies, foreshadowing all of their final words. Mark is confused and decides to just ignore it. The Fans get in their van and arrive at the location and decide to split up so they can cover every floor faster. Unknowing to the Fans, the Miami PD surround the building, cornering Mark, Tony, and Corey into a small room. We see Mark and Corey on the ground already dead before none other than Pardo shows up, holding Tony at gunpoint and making him beg for his life.
Just arrest me and get it over with, okay? I'm done fighting.
Oh, you want your 15 minutes of fame? Well, I don't think so. You know what happens to thugs like you? See? That's what happens.
The police outside ask him if he's okay, and he plays it off saying that Tony charged at him and he was forced to kill him. We then cut to Ash and Alex on the roof, who get cornered and shot by the leader of the Russian mob, who's tripping balls.
What the fuck are you waiting for?
And then that's when we see the title card for Part 3, The Sun. The movie would do a rewind animation just like with the Fans and say something like several weeks earlier, and we get to see the story of the Sun. The Sun, as mentioned in his name, is the son of the Russian mob boss in the first game that Jacket is responsible for killing. The Sun is shown to be ambitious and multi-talented, restoring much of the Russian mafia's influence in Miami in just a month. He ultimately worries that his lavish lifestyle and huge amount of notoriety will cause him to meet the same fate as his family in the original game. We see the Sun rob a bank in one mission, take out his rivals the Colombians in another, and then buy a skyscraper that serves as the headquarters for the Russian mob. He develops a friendship with the henchman, as seen earlier by being killed by the Fans. The henchman announces his retirement and the Sun kind of laughs it off, calling him boring, but accepts his wishes to leave. The Sun later on tries to call the henchman to come back and tells him to at least come see his new headquarters and his new experimental drug he made. After failing to make contact with the henchman and accidentally giving his address to the Fans, he basically overdoses on these these experimental drugs and starts losing his fucking mind. He starts seeing all the Russians as monsters, just starts killing all of them out of pure fear. As the high continues, he comes across semi-realistic animal versions of the fans, first fighting Mark, Corey, Tony, and finally Alex and Ash. After killing all the fans except Tony, with the two last being Ash and Alex, we see him envision the pearly gates of heaven and walk across a rainbow bridge, while in reality he walks up the roof of the building and falls to his death. We can see his dead body under a white sheet earlier when the cops arrive at the scene. And that is the end of Hotline Miami 2, or so we think. The end credits show Richter from the first game, who has successfully escaped law enforcement, now is hiding out in Hawaii with his mother. Now I do have to mention there was a big subplot with Richter in this game, but I included all that in the first video about the first game, so it made sense to talk about it again in this video. Richter and his mother are watching TV before the news comes on, revealing that 50 Blessings has gotten both the President of the United States and President of Russia assassinated. We then see Richter's mother turn into Richard, which by now we know exactly what this means.
How long do I have?
You don't have much time. No one does.
There's nothing I can do about it, right?
No. By now, there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Okay. No need to fight it then.
I'm glad you understand.
Leaving this world is not as scary as it sounds.
And in a shocking turn of events, we see the world end by nuclear apocalypse, which pretty much had been foreshadowed throughout the entire game.
This movie you're making, you know how it ends? I believe there's a pretty big twist at the end. I doubt you'll like it. In fact, I don't think anyone will. Maybe you want to get out before it's too late.
The next person we see is Evan, which if you choose to ditch the book and spend time with his family, they'll all be around the dinner time enjoying their last moments together. The next person we see is Pardo, quietly contemplating suicide in his apartment before he's wiped away. And the final person we see is none other than Jacket, serving his time in prison before he's gone as well. I don't know why, but that one specifically makes me the most sad. After all that happened, Jacket just gave up and wanted to serve his time for what he did, but he couldn't even do that. I think this whole ending sequence would be even more shocking in the theoretical movie, because the whole movie you're just watching the aftermath of what 50 Blessings did in the first game, to the point where you forget, oh fuck, they were behind the scenes doing shit this whole time. So I think it adds an extra punch, and it keeps 50 Blessings as mysterious as possible because we don't really ever see what they do during both the first game and second game. We just witness the horrible aftermath and destruction they leave in their wake. Even though I think that ending is amazing, as do fans of the game, there's always the problem of would general movie going audiences be satisfied with that ending. It's brutal, unforgiving, and it doesn't care about your feelings or attachment to any character. Some movies with similar endings I can think of would be The Mist, Cabin in the Woods, and maybe like The Thing. As far as I know, both The Mist and Cabin in the Woods endings are more liked than disliked, so it'd be interesting to see if general movie going audiences would like the fucked up ending of Hotline Miami 2, or if they would think it's stupid as shit. But I guess we'll never know. With all that being said, feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Thanks for watching.